slowly, calling in the rest of the team to whisper his instructions to them. Slowly, precisely, they moved to occupy positions in a wide arc around the knot of shuffling bodies concentrated in the deserted street ahead. Their objective wasn't just to dispatch the hordes. Airstrikes and seaborne artillery would do that if they formed any kind of swarm like they had before, but to select and subdue one particular type of monster created by the mutation of whatever unholy shit the Brits and CIA had cooked up to cause the global catastrophe. They waited, knowing that none of them would fire a shot or make a noise unless Miller himself called the go, or they had no choice. Even then, Miller would be disappointed in any of his team who couldn't take out one or two of the slow ones with their Ontario service knives without making a noise. Only they found no slow ones, because whatever had caused the newest monstrosity to increase the combat effectiveness of their enemy had done away with the high volume of slower ones, leaving only those designated as Lima and the new moniker of Echoes, derived from the label of enhanced infected, which was what anyone safely away from the area called them. Slowly rotating his left wrist without twisting the barrel of his suppressed MP5, really the only choice in anti-zombie small arms, he looked at the glowing tips of the hands on his watch. 0540, he thought, less than 20 minutes until daybreak. Deciding to wait it out, and knowing that he didn't have to communicate that with his team, Miller settled down to wait as the small crowd ahead and slightly below their position grew clearer in detail with every passing minute. He marveled at how they crowded together, how they seemed to hibernate and hide from the wind like animals, like penguins sheltering from the icy winds of the Antarctic. As the dawn threatened to pierce the sky over the distant rise, a noise emanated from the gaggle of undead. It began as a low grumble, growing in intensity as the closely packed beasts began to animate and complain, before the group split apart and a female pushed her way free to sniff the air with exaggerated movements, like a dog smelling food on the breeze. Her head swiveled to the higher ground where the U.S. Navy SEAL team was hidden, and she opened her mouth to screech loudly with a tortured inward breath. Behind her, agitated and aroused by her actions, the others became more excited, as though startled out of a drunken torpor, to begin echoing her shriek in all directions, as they had yet to zero in on what had caused the reaction. "So much for the element of surprise," Jackson said from Miller's left. "That one of them?" Wilson asked in a voice too loud for their situation and betraying his status as the least experienced man there. "That one of the echoes?" "Negative," Jackson told him, no longer bothering to keep his voice too low, as the faster one had already set off in a lumbering jog in their direction. "That's still a Lima." "Okay," Miller said with a sigh as he stood and cricked his neck from side to side in anticipation of the assault. "Take 'em down." Suppressed gunshots punched the still pre-dawn air as the Lima tumbled to the dirt, to twitch until a 3-round burst perforated her skull, to leave her lifeless again. The others came on behind, walking in contrast to their boss's jog, and fell easily as the operators took their time to fire aimed shots, in testimony to their calm demeanor under what counted as fire. When the last of them fell, Miller gave the order to move forward and make sure of any dead body before they stepped inside grabbing distance. 1 or 2 more shots punctuated the morning, and he himself had drawn his blade purely to save raising their noise profile, should he need to end the movement of a not-quite-dead-again, undead thing. As they began to return to their original position, expecting orders to move either inland or else up or down the coast, another sound tore the air in two, as loud and as sudden as a passing jet operating below the safe flight deck. It was like a bark, only higher and sharper than a dog's, like an aggressive fox had been disturbed by their arrival. Something about the quality of the sound echoing around the now deserted streets shot cold into their spines like a hypodermic needle, and as one, they began to contract to form an outward-facing ring of raised weapons. "The fuck was that shit?" Hernandez complained, half to himself, as he performed a reload on his MP5 without looking. "Seriously," Wilson added, "what the hell was that, Master Chief?" "That, Willie," Miller said in a low tone, sounding almost bored even though his heart was beating like a disco track, "was probably something we don't want to meet, but orders are orders." They stayed in position, twice more hearing the sharp barks at differing intervals, which sounded as though the thing making